Hey, YouTubers. I'm about to also press record on the podcast and going live on Instagram all in one shebang. So I appreciate you joining in today. We're going to talk about rejection. It's going to take me a minute to get there. I want to mention uh, my version of sponsorship thing and say thank you to the town I'm in. And as we set up, I'm in Lubbock, Texas. Hey guys, on Instagram. Hey guys, on YouTube. I've already said that, and I'm about to click record for the podcast. So knocking a few things out with one stone. I hope you guys are having a great day. I'm in Lubbock, Texas, and all right, we're about to go live on the podcast. Not live, but we're live on YouTube right now. Hey, on Instagram, and then podcast starts recording right now. Hey, everybody, it's Elias Israel. Thanks for joining the New You versus the Screw You podcast. Today, we are talking about, I got all choked up. We are talking about, hold on now. I'm glad I can edit this thing. Okay, Instagram, you back with me? Okay. Hey, let's just start the podcast over. Hey, everybody. Thanks for joining the podcast. I'm Elias Israel, and this is the New You versus the Screw You podcast, a podcast in which we talk about two versions of ourselves, the one that is the new version, the one we want to be, and then the one that ends up screwing everything up. That's the one that we know all too well, isn't it? And I don't like that one. But there's always choices to make of who we're going to be. And that is the choice we have to make daily on different situations, certain circumstances. And so we want to make the best choice. So that's what this podcast is dedicated to, is helping us in every life situation do that in a comedic way, in a fun way. It doesn't always have to be straight comedy, but it is a way to address things just in real life conversation. Hey, I figured it out, guys. I'm very excited. Through sitting and watching the TV at the hotel, I figured out who I want my guests to be on this podcast. I've had requests, I've had people reach out, but this is really who I'm going to go after for one of my guests on the podcast. I've been watching this show called Bar Rescue, and there's a guy on there. I believe his name is John. I apologize for not having his full information yet. I've seen it a few times, and this guy is intense. He does this kind of big expressions and stuff, and he goes up there and he just gives them what for, and then he really transforms the bar and makes them go from it's always pretty much the same story. It's always going from a thing where there's employees that are taking advantage of them because they have personal, they're too close, and man, that can happen. I know that can happen. I don't know about bars. I've never owned a bar, but I know that can happen in life where we get too close to people. When I say too close, I don't mean it's negative to be close to people. I mean there is an element and a tendency that sometimes when we get real close and familiar with people that we treat them less than we should. It's weird because we should treat the people that are closest to us the best, but if you'll notice, a lot of times we're less courteous, we're less kind, we're less compassionate with those that are closest to us because we feel like, oh, well, they should understand what I do and blah, blah, blah. And so that's not positive. That's not good. But anyway, so a lot of times at the Bar Rescue show, what I've learned over watching a few episodes here in the hotel room in Lubbock, Texas, is that these people are taking advantage of the owner. They're overpouring the product. They're doing a lot of stuff. They're cutting corners, is what they say, cutting corners, as it were. And with that corner cutting comes along a loss of profits. And then with that loss of profits comes that they can't take care of they can't upgrade the stuff. And then so there's complaints that happen because it's like, yeah, you know what? We would treat this place nicer, but they never buy us new stools. They never buy us. They don't even care about the condition of this place. And then the owner is like, well, I can't buy things because I profit. I'm paying out of my pocket to keep this place open. It just goes on and on and on. And the Bar Rescue guy comes in. His name's John, I believe. And he comes in. He goes, hey, do you? And he's got this big. If you ever listen to the Howard Stern show, Howard 101 or Howard 100, there's a guy on there named Ronnie Mund, and I love this character, and this is who this guy kind of reminds me of. I associate them in my mind with each other, and and so anyway, by the end of the show, they redo the venue, and then they reopen it, and then they succeed by the time they leave. And then sometimes the story is, 3 months later, they went back to their old ways, because that's how we are as humans. We like to go back to our old ways. The new you versus the screw you. There's that will succeed, and then there's a way that screws us up. And that's why I want to have him come on the podcast, and I want to interview him, because I think he has some very healthy things for us to be thinking, because that's exactly in line of what this is built for, is to help us in our thinking and to attach ourselves to the new that will profit us in our life, in every area, relationally, in financially, business, all that stuff. It'll help us to succeed in those areas, versus being screwed up all the time. So the new is screwed. So anyway, if you guys know him, reach out to him. I'm after him for the podcast, and I'd love to have him on here. So that's also who I just go ahead and like to say thanks ahead of time to, but sponsorship. I don't have a corporate sponsor yet. I don't have corporate sponsors. So in an attempt to get the ones that I really want, because these are the things that I love and things that I like, and I'm mentioning these things free of charge right now, but I'm going to act as if they're my corporate sponsors. I'm going to mention Zumba. I mentioned Torchy's Tacos last time, because I was on the way to Lubbock, Texas the next day after I recorded the last podcast, and I'm here in Lubbock, Texas now. I'm at the hotel room, and as of now, this is my third day. I've been to Torchy's Tacos two times, and they did not disappoint. So mad props to Torchy's Tacos. And so today I'd like to, my corporate sponsor I'm going to choose for the day, in faith, as a preemptive move, in order to say these are who I want to sponsor me. I would like to say thank you to Zumba. Zumba. I like Zumba. Hi. I love Zumba. And I'll tell you why. It's a personal thing for me. And the personal thing comes from, I had a heart surgery. Here, those you want to see. Hey, my eyes are up here. I got a big scar from my heart surgery. And that came, and I had a lot of bounce back. I had a lot of healing to do after a heart surgery 3 years ago. And so one of the things they said I needed to do was increase my cardiovascular workouts. And I was already in the gym. I was already working out. I was already eating right. But my cardio was suffering. I've never been a successful runner. I like the concept. I'd love to be a runner. I've tried. Matter of fact, on my the first time I did like a marathon type thing was only a 5K, which is 3.1 miles, and I injured kind of around my meniscus. Don't want none unless you got buns, huh? It rhymes. But it hurts. So I'm just not good at running. I'm not a good runner. So I thought, you know what I'd like to do? I used to love to dance. Those of you who are in my past, you know what I'm talking about. If you knew me between the ages of like 15 on through like 21, you'll know who was at the club in the middle of the flow. I was, yes, sir. I liked to dance, and I wasn't there to party. That's the thing. Guys go there for different motives, and different people go there for different. My motive was to dance. I love to dance. And those, if you know me, if you're from the Little Rock area and you knew the scene back in the day, you saw where I was standing on the dance floor. And I love it. And so when I was told I needed to increase my cardio, then I decided, well, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to start going to Zumba, because they dance in Zumba. And if I got to do cardio, I'm going to do it the way that it was meant to be done. I'm going to dance. And I'm telling you, it was everything I expected and so much more. I feel healthier. I feel better. I feel great. I love Zumba. So I encourage you, if you're out there, and especially you guys, because guys will make fun of things like this. And here's the thing. I'm talking about rejection today on the new versus the Screw You podcast, and dealing with the fear of rejection. And here's what I would say to you for rejecting or laughing at anyone, including myself, laughing at me for liking Zumba. I would say it's okay. You don't have to like that I do it. I would ask you to try it, and who knows what will ignite on the inside of you. It is good. So I encourage you, join a Zumba class. You don't have to join, just go visit and see how you like it. Go at your own pace and dance your heart out, man. Just dance. Come on. Life's too short to not dance. Anywhere you are, dance as if, what they say, dance is like no one's watching. No, I'm saying dance like everyone's watching. Enjoy it, man. This is your only run. You don't get another run. This is it. This is your life. You don't even know if you're going to be here tomorrow. And so today, I encourage you, man, dance it out. Dance it. Boom, boom, boom. Bump, 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 bump. Dance it out. Why not? Why not? You don't know what your life is going to end up being like. You want to look back with memories of fun. You want to look back with memories of, I'm glad I did that, and it was so goofy and it didn't make sense. But you know what? It makes you healthier as a result of that. So I want to shout out to Zumba. Zumba, Zumba, Zumba. All right, I want to talk today here on the podcast about, rejection, the fear of rejection. All of us deal with the fear of rejection. All of us do. I don't care who you are, because there's a lot of people like, I don't care what anyone thinks. Mostly all of us have that response. Mostly all of us say, I don't care what anyone thinks of me. It don't even matter. I'm my own person. We have that. But the truth is, we wouldn't ask to look at the group picture after it's taken before they post it if we didn't care what other people thought. We want to know what is projected about us in public. We care about what other people think and perceive us to be. And that gives us, in one way, it's a healthy thing, because we should care about our presentation. You know, we should like dress for the job you want. Look, I'm dressed for the job I want today. I want a job in which I can make podcasts and YouTubes and talk to my friends on Instagram in the middle of the day, and then go speak later on. I like that kind of job. And so I'm dressed for the job that I want. But the other factor involved is when it's unhealthy worrying, an unhealthy way of thinking when it comes to being rejected. And this is where a lot of people get into the screw you version of yourself, because it screws us up. It'll screw you up if you're constantly thinking about what other people think about you. I said on the last podcast, my 5th grade teacher told me, Elijah, I don't know what it is that you'll do whenever you're an adult, like for a livelihood, but whatever it is, you'll never be able to do anything that requires you to talk. Now, was she just trying to be mean? No, she was stating something that she observed about me, and that was I had a horrible stuttering habit. Horrible. I mean, I stuttered like crazy. I couldn't get the sentences out. And in my case, it was a matter of being nervous, being shy, being timid. And so the more pressure you put upon me in a public setting, the more I would lock up, and I couldn't. And the thing is, I have spoken for a living, for a livelihood, as part of my livelihood for the last 26 years. If I only ever worried about what that person thought, then I would never have found the groove that I was meant to be in. Does that make sense? And it could be that other people's thought of you is in front of you more than what you know that you have on the inside of you. I talked about on the last podcast about the bumblebee and how people's thoughts about the bumblebee is it's possible to fly. Your little wings can't handle that big body, but actually the bumblebee is the most productive when it comes to pollination. Why? Because it's big and it can carry the most, and its wings do the job. If it worried only about what we thought, then, and it would be fearful of being rejected for trying something that was outside of what we thought it could do. I'm encouraging us, let's not let the fear of rejection from other people stop us or limit us from at least trying what it is that's in our heart. And all of us deal with it on different levels. I remember one time I dealt with the fear of rejection. It was I was in 11th grade. I just transferred to a school, Bauxite High School. If any of my friends from Bauxite High School are out there, you know what I'm talking about. I just transferred in 11th grade. I transferred from another school in Little Rock, Arkansas, in Southwest Little Rock, Southwest, called McClellan High School. And McClellan had, several thousand, I believe, characters going to school, and this was an inner city school at that time. This was back when the banging in Little Rock era was happening. It was back, so everyone was trying to at least be perceived as they were in a gang, and so everyone. The problem with that, guys, listen. The problem with with the wannabes, as we would say, is that wannabes are the ones who will do things to prove that they are qualified to be the real thing or do it. And so some of the most dangerous characters are the ones who are not the real deal, because they will do anything to prove that they are real. And so that we had a lot of that element going on in Southwest Little Rock. My dad pastored a church, and at that time it's called Lighthouse Christian Fellowship, and they got a building leased to them in Bauxite, Arkansas, which Bauxite was about 30 minutes outside of Little Rock, and we got there. Just a different element, and from where we were kind of inner city Little Rock, both my parents and my nana, who always lived with us, they all came from San Fernando Valley, from Los Angeles, California. So they knew the dirty. You know what I'm saying? Like they're not moved by gangs. They're not moved by any of that stuff, because they were from where it was from. And so when we transferred over to Bauxite, they had this little bitty place. It was called a parsonage. A parsonage, for those of you not from the ministry background and ministry families, a parsonage is a place where it's a living quarters for the pastor and their family, and it's on site of the church. Usually are connected to somehow, or a house within that property area. And this was a makeshift parsonage. It was so small, the walls didn't have insulation. They just had literally just the wood paneling up and frames. Like you could hear if someone yawned or something like that. If they just, they're just breathing heavy, you could hear it in the next room. And when someone used the bathroom, everyone knew which one they did, number one or number two, not just because you could hear it, because you could smell it immediately. It was like you're in the room with them. It was so small. It wasn't a parsonage. I would call it more of a personage. It was like just one and we were all in there. And when we made that shift, I had to switch schools. And so I transferred to a school, Bauxite High School. Bauxite was just a few hundred people, a couple hundred, maybe 300 people, and from kindergarten through 12, and transferred there. I didn't know anyone, and I remember I was sitting in class. It was my first week, and as I was sitting there, I did this thing where I started to have to sneeze. And you need to know this. It was like the late 80s, and so there were these pants called the MC Hammer pants. Remember, they were just big balloon type pants, and real flimsy kind of rayon type fabric. And I had those on, and I started to sneeze. And so I did the international "I'm about to sneeze" face. It's this face. I don't care who you are. It's this face, like that. Those of you who are on the podcast, you can't see the face I'm making. It's as if you are trying to take a bite of an apple, an invisible apple that is 3 inches in front of your face. So it's like that. We make that face every time. And then we add the international "I'm about to sneeze" noise that goes like that, like that. And I did both of those. And as I did them, because I couldn't get the sneeze up. And finally I looked at the light, because that's what they tell you to do. Look at the light. I looked at the light, and I felt the sneeze conjure up. that pressure on the back of your head. You can feel it in your ears, kind of that sinus pressure coming up. And I went, and I sneezed. I sneezed so hard that it was kind of in slow motion, and bad things happen in slow motion. As I was sneezing, I could feel what was happening on the inside. Because of all the time it took and all the air pressure that was built up, I guess, over all that intake, half of the air pressure decided we can't wait to get out. We got to find another way out. So half of the air pressure turned around. Instead of coming this way, it went down, looking for a release valve, looking for a way out. And as I don't know which one was louder. All I know is both of them happened because I went, and I started to vibrate, like I was vibrating at the same time. My chair was moving, and my pants, my MC Hammer pants, were like they inflated with the air release. That was, it was a horrible moment. I had sneezed and farted. I'm sorry for the language here. For me, I'll bleep that out. At the same time, choo. Now here's the deal. All I could hear was the choo, like that, because that was so, it was right by my ear. I didn't know how loud this was. And so in my mind, everyone in class just heard me just rip. I mean, it was hard. You know, it was harsh. It felt harsh. And I was so, oh my gosh, I was so embarrassed. No one said anything. The guy sitting next to me hey, bless you, man. And I was like, and so I out of insecurity of the fear of rejection and being rejected, I kind of like blamed the smell on him in just a few moments because I still had all the air. I had to let it out. Like I just slowly, like from the top. I don't know why we do that. You know how you do that at night? You know, if you pass gas under a blanket, like, why do you do this? You can do the feet, like get it out that way. We're like, oh no, why do I keep doing this? It comes up and into the nostril and in your sinus areas. And I out of a fear of being rejected, got insecure and then started saying, oh man, you guys smell that, man? What'd you do? Oh, you was foul. Remember, I don't know people. And I'm blaming someone else for something I did because I was fearful about being rejected over something very silly, something very small in the terms of all the things later on in life that I would go through, even of the stuff that I've already went through in life up to that point. I was afraid of being rejected. We all deal with the fear of being rejected. The fear of rejection will limit you and cause you to operate in ways that will screw you up. In this case, it caused me to operate in such a way that I blamed somebody else. My insecurities about being rejected caused me to make someone else take the blame for something that I did, a private matter of my own I was insecure about because I was fearful of being rejected for it. That'll screw you up, man. That fear of rejection will cause you to be so insecure in life that you will do things that will screw you up. That's not the new you. That's the screw you. And we have to deal with how we work through rejection, the fear of being rejected, because here's the deal. In life, we're going to be rejected. If you're online, which if you're listening to this, you are online, maybe you've already experienced someone rejecting you for something you've said, for something you've done. They just don't like you as a person, and maybe they've publicly made it known that they don't like you. Believe me, I get this on a regular basis. Now, you got to ask yourself, is the thing that they're rejecting me over, is it valid? Is it invalid? Is it right, wrong, or indifferent? And no matter what the answer is, you have to bring yourself to a place where you say, I'm the one responsible for the rest of my life, and I can't let their opinions of me continue to control the way and the direction and how I navigate through my life. Just because, even if it's true, even if you're wrong in something, just because you're wrong in that moment doesn't mean their vision of who you are because of the wrong that you've done is allowed to hold you to the leash of not bettering yourself in that area. You can be better than that, but if you listen to only the critics, they will say you don't deserve any better because you are a bad person. The fear of rejection will cause embarrassment, number one, and it will cause shame, number two, if that embarrassment is not dealt with, if that overwhelming feeling. Here's the deal. You have to realize that what you're embarrassed about, there's other people that have lived through what you are embarrassed about. You can't live the rest of your life just because, and with limitations, just because you're embarrassed that something happened. Just because surely no one else before me during this time in all of history farted and sneezed at the same time. I'm the guy who came up with that. No, I'm not the guy who came up with that. Other people have existed that have been in this situation and they lived through it. They weren't, it could be a deeper thing. Dear Lord, I hope it is a deeper thing than that. It could be that I went through a divorce, and as a result of going through the divorce, there have been people who have rejected me. There have been people who that I no longer associate with, that I used to have friendships with, I used to have relationships with. That kind of stuff exists. So it could be a deeper thing. Maybe you've went through a relational split, a relational breakaway, a relational go this way and go that way. And it could have caused you this sense of rejection. You're being rejected by others. Does that define you for the rest of your life? Does that thought of what other people may have of you for those things, does it allow their thoughts to hold you to a leash that you can't move forward in life? I encourage you, it does not. It doesn't allow them to limit you. No matter what it is that you've done, that someone else has done, that you've gone through, you have permission to seek a better version of yourself, because you're the one that lives with you. You're the one, when you go to sleep, you're the one who thinks your thoughts. You're the one who carries your spirit. You're the one who has to go the rest of the time. So I encourage you, don't allow what other people think about you and your fear of being rejected because someone knows that you farted and sneezed at the same. Someone knows that you had this in your life. Someone knows that you struggle with this in your life. That version of you is allowed to grow beyond, but you have to overcome the fear of being rejected by others. There are other people. Listen, if you're out there, there's other people online. I know this. There's some people who follow other people just so that they'll see them and they'll try to catch them saying something. They'll try to investigate, they'll try to spy and stuff. Here's what I'd say: life's too short for that nonsense. Don't spend your time trying to find people and reasons to reject them. If you don't like someone, just stop following them. Just stop. You certainly don't have the right. I certainly don't have the right to waste my time and my life waiting on others to do the wrong thing because they did something wrong in the past. That's no kind of life to live. And it's also no kind of life to live to expect myself to be held back just because of maybe things I got wrong in the past and other people no. The best thing I can do is make myself a better person. The best thing you can do is make yourself a better. Quit being embarrassed by the thing, because embarrassment will hold you to it forever. Also, shame is the second level. The shame will cause you. See, guilt means I've done something wrong. I'm guilty. I'm guilty of something. Shame is not just I've done something wrong, but I am something wrong. I'm a wrong kind of person. I'm the wrong exudes from me. That's what shame does. Embraces that your identity is specifically forever linked, that you are that wrong thing. And that shame it'll drive you to the grave, my friend. It will stress you out to such a way where you deal medically with issues, you deal physically, and you deal mentally and emotionally with issues. Shame was not meant for you to carry and for me to carry. Fear of rejection will cause us to not only be embarrassed, but if we allow it to, it'll cause us to be ashamed. And then ultimately what happens is not I'm just fearful of being rejected by others, but I'm fearful of being rejected, and I reject myself, a self-rejection. Does that make sense? And once I start rejecting myself, saying I'm disqualified, I'm not good enough, then things go very wrong, it screws the rest of my life up because all I can see is through the filter of shame, embarrassment, and disqualification. Friends, you're not disqualified. Friends, it may be embarrassing, but guess what? You can move on. You can do better and you can be better as long as you are doing something to work on yourself. And the very fact that you're watching this, unless you're one of those people who are just watching me to criticize and to make statements, without putting your face on there or doing that stuff. I've had it all. Listen, unless you're one of those people, the majority of my friends aren't like that. The majority of my followers aren't like that. You are watching because there's an element of what I do that helps you be more of who you are. And that's these kind of things. So if I stop doing that, then I stop providing that for you. If you stop being who you are, then it stops it for other people that you provide the same thing. It is time for us to stop being so driven by the fear of rejection. So today, I want us to be free of that. So if you're listening out there, I encourage you, do something to better yourself. One, listen to this podcast. I believe takes us to a better place mentally, spiritually, and emotionally, potentially. Whatever it takes. The areas that you suffer in, if you suffer with addiction, find places that deal with that addiction, have support groups toward that. Go to those things. If you suffer with spiritual things and you just don't understand everything, yet you have a draw towards that, you want to understand, then expose yourself to it. Vision comes through exposure. You have a vision for what you will expose yourself to. No one starts out wanting to go to the mission field, but then once you go to the mission field and see hungry people, then you get a passion for it. You get a vision for it because you were exposed to it. Vision comes through exposure. So today, my friends, I wish you the best, and I wish to be free, to be lighthearted, to be physically healthy, mentally healthy, and doing everything and receiving everything that you need. So today, I just speak blessings on you guys. I love you, and I hope that you have a great day. So I'm signing off of everything here, and I can't thank you enough for joining the New You versus the Screw You podcast. Hey, spread the word. Click like if you like it. Subscribe to my YouTube. Do all the stuff that needs to be done, and can't make a difference, can't make a splash if I don't jump in with a big element. We are that element that jumps in together, and then we make the splash and the ripple, and then it causes a great effect. All right, guys, I love you. See you. Bye.